Have you heard of the Quebec Scream?
No, I haven't.
So as you know, Quebec comes from Norway. And over there, they have this belief that when you pitch the yeast into the beer, that's an opportunity for bad spirits to go into your beer and spoil it.
Okay.
So in order to prevent that and scare the bad spirits, you scream.
Yes, that's awesome.
So I'm in my aquarium. I call it my brew house, the aquarium, because it's all like windowed up. Most times there's going to be customers around here, just like minding their own business. You got to give yourself like 100% when you do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. Today we're in Trois-Rivières, Quebec, and joining me is Nick from Gambrinus.
Hi.
Hi, thank you very much for hosting us today. Appreciate anybody taking their time into their schedule to speak with us about their delicious looking craft beer. Quite a beautiful location on top of that, so I look forward to learning more about Gambrinus as I've never been here before.
Yeah, sweet man. Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah, and I understand you are the head brewer, correct?
Yeah,
Perfect.
I am.
All right. So, like I said, you got some delicious looking beers here for me to try today. What am I starting with?
We're starting with the Miyazaki. So that's a mango sour.
Okay.
It's called Miyazaki because I'm always like struggling to find inspiration to name my beers. So I'm just like Googling stuff. And through my Google adventures, I found out that the most expensive mango in the world is called the Miyazaki.
Okay.
It comes from the Miyazaki prefecture in Japan. Mm-hmm. And also love like Studio Ghibli movies. From Hayao Miyazaki, so I just like put everything together, and
awesome.
That's what I heard we're having.
As we do, a toast. Ooh, mango is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really up there.
Wow, it's not like super bitter in any way either. It's nicely balanced. It's not like a punch to the face. The mango is like right on that level.
Yeah. Yeah, so with this one, I was trying a new yeast for the first time.
Okay.
So usually my sours are made through kettle souring with like lactobacillus basically, and then afterward I ferment with Saccharomyces. And this one is fermented with Philly sour, so it's a whole different like branch of yeast. It's the Lachansia.
Okay.
And so this one, through one pitch, it's going to produce like lactic acid and then your alcohol and CO2 at the same time.
Very tasty. I'm for my first Gambrinus beer ever. Wow, like very, very impressed.
Yeah, right. I'm really surprised with how much clou de girofle cloves came through just from the yeast, and kind of got through a bit, much less than like during fermentations inside of the mangoes. But
yeah, it's not like a crazy amount of lactobacillus or anything that's really like kicking its butt. So it's that's incredibly balanced. I'm very impressed, and the mango is not like. It's not like a punch of mango. It's like that right level balance of mango. Awesome. So what's the beer story? What brought you to Gambrinus, and what's the history of Gambrinus?
Yeah, well, they opened because I was 1 year old when they did, but in '96, and so it's been a family-run business since the beginning. The couple who opened the business are still owners, and since then their child, they have 2 sons. Now both of them also work here. And I happened to meet one of them too when I was studying in college, and we became really, really good friends. So before working here, I was a customer. Like I turned 18. The second I turned 18 was here, and so I always like gravitated around Gambrinus. And in 2019, I left Canada to go backpacking in Australia. Okay. And that's where I through backpacking, I ended up working in a brewery. And they taught me basically. They formed me to become they trained me. And so when the time came like for me to come back home, I just told my friend, who is the son of the owner, and it just so happened that the brewer they had was leaving. So timing was perfect. I just swooped in. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's quite the coincidence that you're like, oh, I went to Australia, I learned to brew, I'm back. Hey, are you guys hiring? Actually. So.
No, I didn't have to look for a job actually. So it was pretty awesome.
That's quite the swing from backpacking through Australia and learning to brew there to coming back to Quebec, and then all of a sudden you're doing, I guess, what your dream job is, right? So.
I guess as well, but I never expected to become a brewer, and I wasn't looking for it. I just needed work, and it just so happened that I knew a guy who plugged me in there, and I got my start was labeling cans. Yeah. And then from there I did deliveries, and I started to clean the lines, and the ball kept rolling, so I'm like, all right, well, I'm digging it, so might as well do it more.
A lot of people's beer journey is that, where it's they always start somewhere at the bottom of the totem pole and work their way up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. In unexpected way as well. Like, it's not really the kind of field where you can just like you get out of high school, like, all right, so I'm gonna do my 2-year study in the pre-university brewing stuff, and it's unconventional, but that's the beauty of it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's Brew and there's other couple brewing colleges in Quebec and Ontario, but it's not, well, for Niagara School of Brewing, there's a wait list, but outside of that, before the pandemic started, we were doing a tasting of college beer at ETS in Montreal. So it's crazy like that people can actually do that as a career now, not from where it used to be where brewing schools really didn't exist outside of, I think, Sabelle in Chicago.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure.
Gambrinus is pretty unique. Where's that name come from?
So the story goes that there was a king in Europe, and I'm not gonna name a country because I'm not sure where exactly he was from. But he's a king who conquered through not war, but he figured out that if you give people the like party and opportunities and to have a good time, then they're gonna just like let him be their king.
Okay.
So he'd just like throw huge parties with booze, and that's how he conquered. So that's how we're conquering now as well.
That's great. I mean, I do see a story on the back of the growler.
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's the one. We've got a picture of the guy and everything.
That's so unique. I mean, if we could resolve all the world's crises through beer and partying, we'd be so much better off.
I'm pretty sure we can.
So, I mean, we'd be hungover. The world would be hungover most of the time. But
you don't have time to fight when you're hungover.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So, I mean, this place has been here since 1996. Do you know any problems they had when they were creating Gambrinus? Location to getting the city permits, like any problems that they ran
Honestly,
into?
not really, man.
No?
I haven't heard of anything of the sort. No, I think everything went pretty like swimmingly from the start.
Yeah.
They did a bit of changes. Like upstairs used to be a second bar.
Okay.
Where they'd play like heavy metal, and it was a bit rougher. They'd have like live radio DJs in the brewery. Like the brewery used to be open as well to the public, so it was like one area.
Yeah.
That had to change for like laws and stuff, but as far as I know, no major like problems. Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. What's beer number 2 we're doing here?
That's called the Palomino.
Okay.
So the name comes from a band that's playing tonight, actually, the Wild Palominos. They're a country band, and my friend happens to play for them. So when he told me he was gonna come here and play a gig, I'm like, yeah, sweet, I'm gonna brew you a beer. So it's a Cranberry Season.
Okay. Awesome. As we do.
Cheers, man.
Toast. It's a saison, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to get like a bit of the Belgian-y wheat.
Yeah. Really expressive yeast. And so my thinking for the cranberry in this one was, my favorite seasons are the ones with bread in.
Okay.
You get like this funky sour stuff. I don't have the equipment or the time or the everything to work with bread because it takes months and months, and I'm trying to turn out beers like in a week. So I figured out if I use cranberries, then I'm gonna get that acidity going on. So it's really not that fruit forward, but you do get that nice balance, I think, with the fruit.
Yeah. What yeast is it? Is it Quebec or is it another?
No, it's a French season from Escarpment Lab.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, some of your beer names, like you said, this one's named after a band, Gambrinus itself, and from when I look in Dublin, Aswafal.
Yeah.
Like very unique names. Who comes up with the naming convention of the beers here at Gambrinus?
Well, it's half. So there's quite a few beers that have been here for a long time. So you named the Gambrinus and the Aswafal. Those are been around for probably like 15, 20 years. So they're set. The guy who brewed it at the beginning chose that name for a reason I'm not aware of, and we just keep them rolling. And for the other half, usually it's me at the moment where I'm about to release them. I'm like, shit, I really need to find something for that one. And it's a mix of everything, really. I like to pay an homage to some musicians I really like. I like Daniel Bélanger a lot, so I named a few beers after his songs and inspiration of the moment, really.
Very cool.
Yep.
Have you, because I usually ask this later on, but I'll ask it now, like, because I know the podcast Vox and Hops, the lead singer is part of a heavy metal band. Do you have any of the? Do you collaborate with any musicians that come in? They shoot the ideas of beers at you.
I have not done it yet.
No. Okay.
I've only been here since September, so it's like 7 months now. But in the future, I'd really enjoy doing that. I like the community aspects of it. So if I can work with bands to find something out, I'd love to. If I can work with, I have friends who like grow their own vegetables, and I've been asking them to grow me some herbs and stuff, so I can have like a bit of my friends and the people I'm really dear to in the stuff I create.
Yeah.
So,
very good. I mean, beer is art and science, and clearly you guys are very art focused too. I'm guessing local artists, they sell their art here, which is always nice to see. Is when I walk into a brewery and they're supporting the local community of like, put your art up. Maybe we'll sell it, maybe we won't. It looks pretty for us. If it sells, great for you. Just make another one, and we'll put another one up. So
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like, it's very rare. It's usually when I go to concerts, Fufun Electric in Montreal. It's just art everywhere.
Yeah.
And you can buy it, and I love seeing that. It's the whole let's support local, let's keep local, and clearly I'm guessing your cranberries are from Quebec as well. So
they're Canadian.
Okay.
We didn't. I tried to buy Quebec as much as possible, but Quebec cranberries weren't available at the moment. We're just out of it, but for a few months, fruits were like the price went through the roof, kind of doubled in a week. But like we tried to stay as local as possible for sure.
That's the most important part. That to my aspect is if you can't stay local like in your province, at least stay local in Canada.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing that we say is support local, and that's been tried and true. And I've been supporting local breweries for 15 years now, ever since the Mondial introduced me to beer, craft beer. And it's like, whoa, these guys are in Quebec? Like, what? And I already knew about Brewtopia, but I didn't know about Digicel. I had no idea because 15 years ago I was a baby in the craft beer world, and the craft beer world has changed so much in the last 5. It's really hard to keep up as a craft beer drinker.
Yeah, but we're lucky to like evaluate in the environment we're in. Yeah. The scene is, I think, ahead of the game, far ahead. Like I was in Australia a year ago, and when I left Quebec, we were starting to like the New England IPA craze was kind of fading off, and we were hopping on sour beers and all that stuff. When I got to Australia, they were like just learning about New England IPAs. Yeah. So it's insane to see when I came back here, just in any little corner store or like gas stations, the section of craft beer in 2 years went like from a little fridge to a whole wall.
Yeah, I mean, not even 5 years ago, I don't even think outside of Peluso, we didn't have that many craft beer stores, and now every little neighborhood has one. Yeah. There's 3 alone in Point St. Charles in Montreal. It's crazy. Yeah. So, and it's literally just a wall of Quebec beer and Quebec wine and Quebec cider and local, charcuterie and things like that. So it's as craft beer drinkers, as people who enjoy flavor for the things they do, how we're being spoiled right now. Yeah, it's a little costly, and you can't be working a minimum wage job to be drinking this on a regular basis. But there are options, and there are some cheaper brasseries that you could go to get a good beer.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Speaking of collabs, like you said, you've collabed with, or you'd like to collab with bands and other artists in the area at some point. But have you done any beer collabs with either, let's say, a coffee shop or a local malter or even another brewery yet?
We do work with coffee makers, coffee roasters actually. Le Café from downtown. We have a coffee IPA, so we use their stuff for that. We use local nature stores for Thé du Labrador. Labrador tea. I don't know if that's the English name for it. And apart from that, I have been working with the previous brewer, who I got really friendly with. He's a great guy. So he came by a few times actually to brew with me. So the last one we're gonna drink has been made with him.
Cool.
But I have not had the opportunity yet to brew with other breweries, either here or at their place.
Yeah.
I'd for sure love to do that.
Any ones you'd love to shout out that, like, if the owner happens to see the show,
come on by. There's Le Temps d'une Pinte, close to my heart. They're really, really awesome guys, good brewery, really tasty stuff they do. And La Ferme du Tarieux.
Okay.
They're a bit like 15, 20 minutes away from here in Saint-Anne. Awesome guys, really, really good party people, and their stuff as well is amazing. They're farmers, so like the stuff they brew, they grew the grain and the hops.
Oh, cool.
So it's really impressive of them to do that.
Yeah, I love that. Now, your brewing background is from Australia. If you could go back and brew Gambrinus with
I'd love that.
Australia, maybe a couple of Australian breweries, who would those be?
Well, Wicked Elf is where I got my start, so I hold them close to my heart as well. They really gave me a great opportunity to get into the world and, I mean, do what I do now, right? And I don't know where he works now, but Rico was my sensei, I call him. And amazing guy. He's from Brazil, and he studied in CBEL, you mentioned earlier. So that's where he got his start in brewing world, and then worked everywhere around the world, in Germany, in Hong Kong, in Australia for a while. And then he moved on to another brewery, I think a bigger place. But if I could ever get the opportunity to work with him again, it would be really special for me.
That's cool. Yeah, that's nice to hear. Is like, here's the guy who taught me. I need to brew with him.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd like to show him as well, like where I'm at now, because.
I mean, from, like you said, washing kegs to where you are now.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's the journey and a half. You know, it's either there's another beer podcast in the U.S. that I listen to, and he's like, the guy literally started as labeling cans, and now he's the head brewer of a small brewery in some northwestern state, and he's like, I literally just sat there, stuck a can on, pushed the thing, hit rafts, and I went from doing that 8 hours a day to where I am now. It's quite the journey.
The same thing, 1,000 cans a day.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So what's beer number 3?
That's our household one. That's the Gambrinus.
Okay.
So it's a quite classic English IPA, but that batch has been fermented with Kvike.
Okay. Awesome. A toast?
Toast.
Yeah, Kvike we're starting to notice is the popular, because it turns out the beer's like...
It's awesome. I love it so much. Have you heard of the Kvike Scream?
No, I haven't.
So as you know, Kvike comes from Norway. And over there, they have this belief that when you pitch the yeast into the beer, that's an opportunity for bad spirits to go into your beer and spoil it.
Okay.
So in order to prevent that and scare the bad spirits, you scream.
Yes, that's awesome.
So I'm in my aquarium. I call it my brew house, the aquarium, because it's all like windowed up. Most times there's going to be customers around here, just like minding their own business. You got to give yourself like 100% when you do it. So it's a really nice primal scream.
That's awesome. Fun, that is hilarious to hear.
So that's a dry screamed beer.
It's great beer. It's very smooth. There's like faint bitterness too. I mean, for somebody who's, we have a friend, he claims he's hop sensitive and he doesn't like IPAs, and we, as friends, all agree that friend is insane. But because there's so many IPAs now. Yeah. It's crazy. And
and what is an IPA now as well? It can be so many things.
Well, even now, like coffee IPAs, New England's, you add lactose, you don't have it, sour. I think it's just kind of like, instead of just calling it IPA, just name it beer. It's
hop juice.
Yeah, outside of pretty much a lager and a bitter, it's most and stouts clearly. Yep. And even now, there's white stouts. There's
white stouts. I haven't heard of those. Are they like wheat?
Yeah. It's to me, it's a coffee IPA the way I taste it, but it's a lot more coffee forward than IPA forward. So, yeah, I know Oshlag does a white stout as well. So.
Damn.
So you said you started your brewing in Australia.
Yep.
Did you homebrew before that at all, or just?
No, never.
Wow.
Never. I was enjoying like craft beer because, as I said, I spent a lot of time here before. But no, actually, the year before I started brewing in Australia, I was backpacking, living in my car, right? So I was drinking box wine mostly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of far departure. I never really occurred to me that that could be a thing I do as a career, really. But as soon as I got the opportunity, as I said, I was labeling cans, and I got good friends with Rico, that guy who taught me. And he's the one day I was like I was supposed to work 2 weeks, right, for my contract. And after the 2 weeks, he just came up to me and said, like, all right, Monday morning, 6 a.m., we're going to brew. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
well, all right, then that's a thing now.
Awesome.
Yep.
So what was that first beer you brewed?
Oh, what was it? I think it was a double IPA.
Okay.
Actually, with Quebec, if I'm not mistaken, that I brewed with him. And then, so over there we had 6 fermenters. So over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, I think we filled everything up and canned that. And then he left with a 2 weeks notice, which wasn't enough for the owners to find somebody else. And since I was there with him while we filled it up, and now they were empty, they were like, do you want to do it? And so I was like, yeah, sure. So the first beer I brewed on my own was a session IPA.
Nice.
Yep.
Cool. That's pretty adventurous, like a session IPA, because you're just trying to lower the alcohol level while you're creating it. It's pretty adventurous. I'm sure the internet we have now also helps when you're creating a beer recipe is, oh, let's see how these guys did it and what their reviews are, and then I can kind of make it my own.
Yeah.
So.
Well, for that one, for all the beers I brewed in Australia, I had recipes.
Okay.
And as I was brewing, I dealt with them that I would do it only if they got me a course.
Okay.
So I did the IBD, the certificate in brewing distance. But I started making my own recipes here.
And what was the first beer that you brewed out of Gambrinus?
So when I came here, I worked 2 weeks with Amin, the previous brewer, just so he could show me around. And we brewed, if I'm not mistaken, a triple, Belgian triple.
Wow.
I think so, yeah.
That's a big beer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
What are some big differences between brewing and everything in the beer industry in Australia to where you are here in Quebec now? Anything you missed that you'd love to bring over from Australia to here?
Yeah, they've got awesome hops over there that are like grown in Australia, so Galaxy is much easier to have, which I can't get here, unfortunately. But we do have awesome Quebec hops as well here, more and more, and I think they're underrated and underutilized, and that's something going forward I'd really love to bring in. Otherwise, I mean, scale is different. Just like that's not an Australian versus Quebec thing, more of like where I was brewing there to where I'm brewing now. I'm much closer to my product here. It's much smaller scale, but I love it. I really enjoy that proximity to it, and that the fact that beers turn out much faster, so I can try out stuff more as well.
Trois-Rivières feels like it's a little more of a working class town.
Yeah.
You have a classic Bud Molson drinker come. What is that beer that you introduced them to try and convince them that beer can have flavor?
So we have the Saint Barn, which is basically an English bitter. And more basically than that, it's like a clone of Labatt 50.
Okay, cool.
Just like pale, crisp, drinkable. Yeah.
That's good. Have you had people that have come here and they're like, no, I only drink the big guys, and then they have that bitter that you mentioned, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. It does happen every once in a while, like people come in and they actually order a Molson.
Yeah.
You gotta like take them by the hand. We're gonna go this way instead, bud. But eventually, that's the nice thing though, because like you pour them something that's not labeled as Molson, but it's in that ballpark. And like, okay, cool, that's nice. It's a bit different.
Yeah.
And like baby steps from there, they kind of learn, and in a year or two, they're back going to Vermont every week because that's what that's what they're about now.
It's really weird to see people like 50 plus getting them into craft beer all of a sudden. So it's pretty wild to me that there's room for everybody. Everybody's palate's different. If you don't like it, fine. Try local wine. We're in Quebec, we have 1 million vineyards.
Yeah.
You know, we have a lot of cideries and orchards that make cider. We're starting to get a lot of gin and craft distillers. There is something local that you can buy that you will enjoy.
Yep.
Try local.
Yep.
So.
It goes with what you were saying before, that like beer started as working class beverage, right? But as the industry grows, there's more and more, there's something for everyone, literally. You still have those craft breweries making that working class beverage, right?
Yeah.
And you also have that, forget the name of the brewery that made it, but it's like a triple something with like spider blood in it, and it's like way out of what you'd expect a beer to be, but that's also available, and that's amazing, I think.
I mean, there's a brewery in the U.S. where the head brewer literally grew the yeast in his beard and just combed it into yeah. So it's
Wow.
it's crazy, and I don't know what it is, but I know it's in the territories up north. You drink a shot with like a mummified toe or something.
Yeah. That's isn't it the White Horse or?
I think it's White Horse.
Yeah. I heard of that. That's a bucket list for sure.
As Canada, we're interesting people, and we're so diverse, and that's where, to me, is like the diversity of craft beer. And yeah, most guys who are into craft beer look like us, but there is room for women. There is room for the LGBT. There is room for BIPOC community. It doesn't just have to be a white guy's drink anymore. No. And that's something that it's slow, and they're trying. Breweries are trying, but
but as diversity, I think we really we gain from that.
Yeah.
From diversity, and that's I believe that's how the industry grows.
Yeah.
Is from new perspectives and like finally someone who's not I'm saying that as a white cis male, but finally somebody who's not a white cis male is bound, I think, to come up with something fresh and original and steer us in a direction that we would not have expected.
Yeah.
But that's gonna be awesome.
Awesome. So I like to ask this is one thing that Trois-Rivières is a smaller community. You're clearly between Quebec City, so I'm sure you get a lot of people who are on their way to Quebec City from Montreal stop here for beers and a drink first.
Yep.
But so I stop in Trois-Rivières, I come here, I try all your great beers, friends in the area to try before I continue my adventure, or I stay here or I go somewhere else. Some other breweries in Trois-Rivières to try.
Le Talent Pint for sure. We're talking working class, and that's their theme, right? So everything is like that's awesome. Their tap handles are like tools. You get like wrenches and stuff. Really, really good stuff they're making out up there. Also in the area, not a brewery, but Le Café Frida. It's a vegan restaurant. You've never had that good of a chicken that's not a chicken. Like
cool.
Their not chicken is better than chicken. It's awesome. And they also have like awesome tap beers as well since they're not brewers.
Yeah.
They have a sweet selection from like everywhere. So that's pretty sweet. I talked about La Ferme du Tarrier earlier as well. Those guys are dope. And we got La Forge du Malte. The Broadway Pub, Café La Bezotte in Yamachiche, not a brewery as well, but such a little. It's a restaurant.
Yep.
And they built it inside this old colonial house, so they didn't like put down walls or everything. It's still the dining room and then the bedroom upstairs, but there's like tables to eat. And
that's cool.
They're artists and awesome beers as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I saw on the way here, Pairings.
Dépareillé, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Actually, we have in Mauricie, there's La Route des Brasseurs.
Okay.
And so it's this organism that puts every brewery around here together, and then you have discounts if you go to every one of them and stuff like that. So worth checking out for sure.
We're at the point where we've interviewed breweries that have opened during the pandemic just as much as we've interviewed breweries before that were open the pandemic, and it's hard to believe that how many breweries in Quebec have kept going. Ontario, more opening. I know Kukanin in Blainville has closed, unfortunately, but I don't know anywhere else. And we had, in Gatineau, we had Saint-Quentin, Baron, Gallicus, and other breweries open all over. Montreal, we had Massorum. We just have a new one now in Pointe St. Charles, Memento. It just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. I can't keep up. I'm getting too old.
Actually, I think the pandemic has kind of played a nice role in the growth of the beer world, because as I was talking earlier, in every gas station there's a huge selection of craft breweries. When your tap room is closed, you have to put out your cans somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So, is it possible that the fact that there was a pandemic and no business could be open kind of worked in a way that helped us?
Yeah. I know after the first lockdown, we were lucky enough to interview Third Moon, and they said the pandemic actually helped them because there was stuff that they weren't ready for opening date that they actually got to push forward. Yeah. Because of the pandemic. Now, the pandemic sucked. Nobody wanted the pandemic.
For sure.
But it's the fact that it helped some businesses is pretty mind-blowing. So, I mean, it didn't help all the businesses. It did help craft beverages, I find, because now it's like, a new distillery in Quebec. Wait, what? Like, Valleyfield, Mirabel, all over Quebec. It's crazy how much as a show. I think we could just stay in Quebec and finish up until we both have to retire from doing this. But there's so much. I've never been to the Maritimes for beer. I've never been past Alberta for beer, and there's so much across Canada, and that's one thing. When it's safe to travel again, when you could sit on a plane without having to wear a mask. Now, I personally have no problem wearing a mask right now, but when I could sit on a plane for hours on end, a beer vacation that you want to take that you haven't. Now, you've been to Australia, so you can't say that.
Yeah.
So anywhere else, if you've never been to Europe, even if you just want to go to, let's say, Florida or California or something, like, what's a beer vacation that you'd love to take?
I have a friend in Ireland, and I kind of idolize the idea of drinking a pint of Guinness. It's like eating the apple from the orchard.
Yeah.
So that's one. Vermont, I haven't really been to the States since I'm a brewer and since I'm kind of closer to that scene. There's just so many things to see over there. I'd love to. I mean, even just in Quebec, I haven't been to Dunham. I haven't been to Oval. There's a few ones on my list, man. I kind of want to do it all. Yeah. That's the problem with it.
Yeah. Well, it's because you have to work, at least for 5-6 days a week brewing beer.
That's the thing.
Oh, yeah, a day. And then it's, I got to make sure that there's enough beer here for if I do go away for 2 weeks, I don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm sure the life of a brewer is not, maybe a brewery owner is simpler, but a brewer, no, I can't see that. All of a sudden, because you have to prepare for time off, it's crazy. Do you have an assistant, or is it just you right now?
I mean, it's mainly me, and Mark, the owner, he does like giving a good helping hand with like tips and tricks and doing this. And if I don't have time to wash kegs or something, he's gonna jump in and do it. But mostly, it's I'm doing beer.
Okay. Yep. So what's the last beer we're having here?
Last beer we're having is called La Mer Noire, and so that's a Black IPA. I'm really proud of the name on that one because I'm a pun lover. I love puns. And La Mer Noire, the Black Sea.
Yep.
But La Mer, bitter and black. So.
Awesome. Toast.
Toast, man.
Ooh, yeah. See, it's that right level of coffee bitterness that I like. It's not like, here's all this coffee, like a really strong coffee forward stout. It's not like that. It's the bitterness of the IPA with the bitterness of the coffee is very well balanced.
Yeah, I love that one. The first time I had a Black IPA was in Australia, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That's a thing? Are you serious? So I came back here, and we brewed this end of the week, I think. I was just having a short day, and at 5:30 I was getting done, and Amin, who I mentioned a few times, the previous brewer, just stopped by for a beer with his friends and something, and I was done, so we just started like drinking and having a chat and a laugh and everything, and yeah, he said, do you want to brew? So I'm like, yeah, sure. So at 6 p.m. I started the fire, and we brewed. We had a good time brewing this one, a few beers in, and it was a party one.
Yeah, no, when we did our interview with the home brewer, and he's like, okay, so this is done, now have a beer. Okay, now this is done, now have a beer. I'm like, dude, I have to drive. As fun as this is, I just got a new car. I do not want to I do not want to take it away. I don't want my license taken away, and that's why when I come out, I'll have a flight, and then that's it.
Yeah.
You also do food here. Is there a sort of food beer menu pairing, or is it just we make suggestions of if you get the nachos, try this?
Yeah, we have like the classic menu that doesn't change, but our chef, big shout out, he's awesome. His name's Cedric, and we're lucky to have him. There's a rotating menu of 4 items that changes every week. So, I mean, I think the beer selection here is large enough that you can find something to go with everything. What's nice though is that he really, really likes using my off products and my spent grains. Yeah. He would sometimes take them and dry them and put them into his batter.
Okay. Beer batter.
Yeah, beer batter. And we put our beer into our sauces and everything. So there's this cooperation of like a rotating stuff inside the business. That's pretty fun.
Awesome. I mean, this has been a great talk. I honestly have no other questions for you. I really appreciate you taking time in your schedule to speak with us today about your brewery and your awesome brew house and pub. I look forward to trying to come back here on some off time to sit down and have a couple of beers with you and not have to do our free job, as I call it. So What's next for Gambrinus as a brand?
I mean, going forward, we're not doing cans at the moment, but that's something we would like to do in the future. So maybe look out for that if that's a thing. Otherwise, you can look us up on Facebook. We're on Instagram as well at Gambrinus_brew, BROUE, pub, PUB. And Facebook just at Gambrinus. And yeah, look us up. We'll put updates, and we have live shows during summer coming up, outdoor shows with the terrace open and everything.
Nice.
Yeah, should be a fun time.
And what's the address?
So the address is 3160 Boulevard des Forges in Trois-Rivières. And yeah, there's a big old G, yellow G at the entrance. You can't miss it.
Thank you once again for speaking with us today. As for us, allbeerinside.com is the website, at allbeerinside on all social media. And as I say at the end of all episodes, drink craft, not crap.